Thanks for tuning in to the Prime Bookseller Podcast, the bi-weekly podcast discussing all things Amazon bookselling.
Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of the Prime Bookselling Podcast. I'm Eric, and we're back, and I had left you in suspense with the last episode with what the topic was going to be. Well, I'm happy to say that I do now have my list with me, and in this episode we're going to cover the fees on Amazon. I put this one so early into the show because a very common thing that I hear from people just starting out on Amazon is they get into selling on Amazon and they sell their first item and they realize just how much in fees Amazon takes for every sale. And they're like, there's no way you can actually build a functional business with this kind of fees built into it. And that's what, it's a big shell shock to everybody the first time they see it or the first time they start investigating it and things like that. And that's kind of what I want to touch base with on this, is just to give you put you in the mindset that when you look at these fees for the first time, you are going to see they're high, they're expensive. I mean, in some instances with the FBA program, literally 50% of the selling price of the item is going to be gobbled up by Amazon in fees. And feel how you want to feel about it, but just realize that even though these fees are that high, there's literally hundreds of thousands of people that are using Amazon as a selling platform very successfully. And I mean, if you want to say unsuccessfully, you can go into the millions of sellers out there selling on Amazon. So the fees are not something that you should be too terrified of. This is not something that it makes your business more challenging, but it does not make your business impossible. And the biggest thing that I would encourage for anybody that is starting out with this and looking at these fees is there's a ton of tools out there. And right off the get-go, the most important one I can think of that is good for a person just to get an idea is if you go to Google and you search Amazon FBA profit calculators, it will bring up a result of a page on Amazon. And you can go to that page and it will just allow you to look up an item on the thing and just start typing in prices, and it's going to calculate out all of the fees that you would have to pay to Amazon, both on the MFN side and the FBA side to sell that item. And I would highly recommend, if you're very, very early on in your journey looking at selling on Amazon, go look this tool up today. Sit down and just start putting items in and start playing with it. Just to give you, to put your mindset in how much that you're going to have to sell something for to be able to make a profit. And a very good example of this is I'm going to use books because we're focused on books, and books kind of have, while books vary greatly in their size, they do have a certain consistency to their size as well. So you can kind of do an average on books. It's not perfect because obviously textbooks are way heavier than other books, but a general rule of thumb is like if you sell a book on Amazon right now via the FBA program for $15, you might make $6 or $7 profit off that book after all the fees are. So literally, I mean, in that situation, they are taking a half of the profit away of the sell price away from you. But the important thing to realize is that isn't a strangle on your business. It's just the cost of selling a product on Amazon. And all you have to be doing is figuring out, okay, if I'm going to have to pay, if I want to make $7 per sale on a book, okay, what price does that book have to sell for me able to make the profit I want to make off of it? And it doesn't matter what the fees go up to, as long as you do that, the business will always work for you. I mean, as Amazon raises fees or you decide you want to make crazy profit on every item, the amount of items that you're going to buy is going to be restricted. But at no point will the business not be viable unless the fees just get so ridiculous that there just isn't any books to find. But really, books cover the whole gamut of selling prices. So I mean, if you only want to sell books that sell for $20 or more, there's plenty of books out there to buy for you. You only want to sell books that sell for $30 or more, there's still plenty of books out there for you. It's just going to be a little bit less than, you're going to lose a lot of books from $20 to $30. And 40, still, now you're starting to get up in an area where, well, this is going to be tough. But there's still books out there at $40 a piece that you can buy, and so on and so forth. So I think most people get into the business and then they sell their first item and they see their fees, well, and they say, well, there's no way I can ever sell an item and make money off of it. And that's the wrong mindset to approach it with. And that's what I want you to learn from this episode is do not approach it from the fact that they're going to take so much money from it. But you're going to approach it in a way that, okay, because they're taking so much money out of this, this means that every item I have to sell has to sell for over X amount of dollars. And if you put that into your mindset, you'll quickly learn that, yeah, you're not going to walk into a thrift store and just start pulling books off the shelves. That's not how this business works. 98% of books that you're going to be looking at are going to be completely unprofitable. If you have the delusion that you're going to walk into a thrift store and just start scanning books and half of them are going to go into your cart, you're very wrong. But it is still a very viable business. It just makes it a little bit harder to do that. And I would say that in my experience with seeing new sellers, this is one of the biggest hurdles to get over in that initial stage, is just wrapping your head around the fact that you need to pay so much in fees. Now, I want to flip this over because I also want to put some rationale into your head of, okay, yeah, they are taking half of the money when you sell a product, but I also want you to look and wrap your head around the idea of what are you gaining by paying half of that money to Amazon to sell the product. And when I look at it, as I've done this for years now, and I see that what I see is I'm giving half of my revenue to Amazon, and Amazon is giving me access to a website that literally has millions and millions and millions of people visiting it every month. Now, if you were to say, well, I don't want to pay all these fees to Amazon, I would rather just go out and start my own website and sell my used books through my own website. Well, try to wrap your head around how much money it would cost you to drive the necessary traffic. Now, you would never need to get Amazon-like traffic to your website, but to get the amount of traffic you would need to be able to sell enough books to make your business profitable, I think that if you look at it from that perspective, you're going to find out that over time you're going to learn that actually Amazon's fees are quite a bargain because they're giving you access to a selling platform that literally Amazon is the only selling platform out there that is as powerful as Amazon. Online selling platforms, nothing even remotely compares to it. When you look at the top selling websites on the internet, like Shopify is right up there, but Shopify is nothing compared to Amazon because people are not going to Shopify to shop. Shopify is only powerful because they have literally millions and millions of sellers that are driving traffic to their Shopify store. But Amazon has a base of customers that goes to Amazon.com specifically for shopping just for random things. And the cost to build that, I mean, I couldn't even give you a number to even compare it to, but just you have to believe me that the value that they're giving you with those fees is way more valuable than what they're actually charging you for the fees. And the reason they do it is because, I mean, it's a win-win situation for them. they get more product for their store, and you get to make money off of anything that sells on their store. So it's kind of like a win-win situation, but you have to realize that wrapping your head around it initially when you first jump into the business is very, very it's shocking to people when they sell that first item and they see the fees that come up. And most people's initial response is that's ridiculous. But when you look at what you're getting from the venue, when you look at what you're getting from Amazon and what you're paying in, it is actually quite a bargain what they're giving to you for you. So I guess the moral of this episode, which is just going to be that I highly recommend that you jump over to Google, type in Amazon FBA profit calculator, start playing. There's going to be multiple ones out there. I'd highly recommend you just there is one specifically from Amazon, and I would play with that one just because that one is going to, that the date is going to be up to date. The fees are calculated properly, and they're not using old methodology or old pricing structures or anything. But just get on there and play around in that, and just start looking up products and figuring, okay, if I sold this for this, how much in the fees are they going to take? So you have eliminate that shell shock of, I would much rather have that shell shock of seeing the fees before I sell any item than to sell your first item and then find out that you priced that item way too low because you did not properly understand how much fees they were actually going to take. And this kind of goes back to we're going to learn more about this as we go through in this podcast, but that's why it's crucial to have the proper tools when you're sourcing items and things like that, because most of these tools that are available out there for you to use will tell you it'll right there on the fly as you're scanning an item in a store to see if it's profitable. It's going to calculate all the fees and tell you if the item is profitable or not. So you don't have to rack your brain around, oh my God, how am I going to figure out how much fees they're actually going to take out? Because if you look at the way they structure the fees, especially on the FBA side of the business, it's completely ridiculous, and nobody could do it straight off their head. So, but the important thing is just to understand because you might be in the mindset of right now, hey, if I buy a book for $1 and I sell it for $8, I'll be doing real good. And in the Amazon world, that is not the case. If you buy a book for $1 and you sell it for $8, you're probably going to lose money every time. So it depends on the book. Again, books vary in size, and the fees are based on the size, or at least a portion of the fees are based on size. So some of them you might make a profit, but the majority of books you're going to lose money on. So it's very important for you to wrap your head around that before you jump too far into selling on Amazon. So with that, I'm going to wrap this episode up. This is going to be your first episode where you have homework, and that homework is going to be as soon as you're done with this, listening to this episode, unless you're driving. You're excused if you're driving, but pull out your computer, look up this Amazon FBA calculator, and just play around with it so you can kind of get your head wrapped around the fees. We will be back next week with another episode, in 2 weeks with another episode. Looks like what we're going to be talking about is we're going to go deep. This will probably be a pretty short episode as well, but it's going to be kind of a dive into why do you want to be on Amazon? And this is really important because, especially for a bookseller. And I don't want to go too far into the weeds on this, but we'll talk about this next week. But there's just countless things that Amazon does for you that's priceless, and anybody that's selling physical products should be selling on Amazon. Whether it should be 100% of your business or not, we'll go into that maybe a little bit into this episode. But I don't, and especially if you're in the used book market, Amazon is the place to be. The majority of people, when they buy books, are going to buy them from Amazon. And so if you're not on that marketplace and that's what you're aspiring to sell, you're making a mistake. But we'll go into more details on that next week or in 2 weeks. And I thank everybody for tuning in. If you do enjoy this podcast, please leave us a review on your favorite podcast player. And as always, you can reach out to me with any questions, comments, or anything like that at sales@kingsragemedia.com. Thanks again, everybody, for tuning in. We'll see you in 2 weeks.
Thanks for listening to the Prime Bookseller Podcast. Join us for the next episode as we discuss all things Amazon bookselling.